Guys. All right, so today I'm going to go over this yellow box here. It is Wednesday on November 11th. So today in math, we started a new unit. It's really, really short unit, so we're only going to spend 3 days, and it's on financial literacy. And we finished up decimals yesterday. We're going to test on decimals and financial literacy on Friday, so we'll do back-to-back on those. They're pretty short, so they're only about 10 questions each, so it shouldn't take us too long. So we'll finish there. And then today we did a unit on financial literacy talking about expenses. So we have two different types of expenses. We have our fixed expenses and we have our variable expenses. Fixed, think about something being fixed. It's not changing, it's the same. So fixed expenses are expenses that month to month or week to week, they're the same expense, they're not changing. So if I pay $500 for something, next month I can expect that bill, that expense to be the exact same. Versus our variable expenses, these things change month to month, and they're based on our needs and our wants. And so, depending on what's going on, it changes. So, some examples are things like your house bill or your apartment bill, what you pay for your where you live. That's usually the same each month. My things like my phone bill, my what else? My car bill is the same each month. So these, when I buy, like for my house and my car, when I went to buy my house, I did not have. They cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. They're very, very expensive, and I didn't have that much money. And so I did pay a down payment to where I gave the money that I did have saved up for the house, and they took it off the amount that I owed, and then the rest of the money that I owed to pay for the house, I had to get a loan. So a loan comes from a bank, and they say, "Okay, Miss Snyder, we'll give you the money to pay for your house, but we're going to want interest back." And so they're going to charge a little bit extra, and that's how they make their money, but they help me to pay for my house. Well, now every month they took that amount, that big amount that I owe, and they divided it out and they said, "Okay, Miss Snyder, you're going to take 15 years to pay off your house. So every single month you're going to have a bill and it's going to be this much. And then after those 15 years, you will fully own your home all the way and you will not have any more of those payments. You will pay off your house." And so each month they divide it out perfectly to where each month I'm having the same expense each month. So I can expect, okay, next month I'm going to have this bill. The following month after that, I can expect that bill to be the same. However, over here with the variable expenses, these change based on my needs. So, like right now, Thanksgiving's coming up, and I've already started to purchase some things that I'm going to know that I'm going to need for our Thanksgiving meal. And so my bill got a little bit higher because I was buying some things that I don't normally buy. Like in the winter, I do a lot more baking and things like that. And so my expense at the grocery store has gone up a little. In the summer, when I have more free time and things like that, we go out to eat more. We go to nicer restaurants that cost more money. So, depending on what's going on, what the season is, or just depending on like if I have people come over to my house, I have to buy more food. So that bill is never the same. It's constantly changing. It's a variable expense. Okay, same thing with entertainment. During the summer, I have all kinds of free time to go to the movies and go bowling and go do this and go do that. Right now, my entertainment bill is about zero because Miss Snyder is doing what I'm doing, and that's about it. So month to month, that changes. So variable changes, fixed stays the same. So what we did is we went through and we worked on some of these pages in our Go Math book, and then students had in their Google Classroom, they had, let's see, go down to Wednesday. So here again is that chart telling you the difference. Here's 4 questions that they needed to have answered today. So page 646, questions 5 through 8. So if they can go in and put the letter that either A, B, C, D, whatever the letter is for their answer. They just click and they can type that there. So that was math. And then let me get out of this agenda. All right, in reading today, we continued working on our seesaw. Let me pull that up. All right, so week 13 for reading. Today, our lesson was we were really kind of digging into what a paired passage is. And so a passage is just the story. So a paired passage is two stories that are paired together. And let me open this all the way. All right. So we read two, and they're paired together because these two stories are about Bessie Coleman, and so this one here is Bessie Coleman and me, and then the one that it's paired with is just called Bessie Coleman, and so these here they're paired together obviously because they're about the same person, and so whenever we get to students had some questions that they worked on today, and when you have a paired passage, it'll be a passage, and then a set of questions. And so it looks like this. And at the top, you really need to pay attention to the directions because it tells you where to find your answers. So it says questions, we're talking about 7 through 10. So this whole first page here is coming from Bessie Coleman and me. Okay, so that's that first story that we read on page 3. This one right here, questions 11 through 14, are coming from the second one on page 5 called Bessie Coleman. And so what I do to kind of help myself is I label the first one passage 1, so P1, and I label the second one P2 for passage 2. And then in the questions, what I do is I go label. Okay, I know this one's coming from passage 1, this one's coming from passage 1, and so on. Over here, passage 2. And then what they always do at the end is they have combined. So the passages, we said that they have similarities, they have differences, they're paired together because they have those. And so what they do on the last set of questions is they compare them. So like, what do these characters have in common? Which of the following is an important idea found in both? So similarities between the two. So they're really, you're looking at that passage 1, P1, and P2. So these here, you have to really think about both of them, both of those stories. You can't think about just one. And so today, a couple students were asking questions like, Miss Snyder, I can't find this. And I'm like, okay, well, what passage are you looking at? And they were looking at the wrong passage. So like here, like with this word, when it's talking about bank, if you don't go to passage 2 and you're looking all through passage 1, you're not going to find it. You have to go to the right passage. So we were talking about that today, and then students had time to work on the questions. This is going to be a weekly grade for week 13, so make sure that they're working on that. It says to highlight, go back if you can find your answer in the text, highlight it, show me where you're finding your stuff, and then they drafted that because we'll continue working. We have more that we're going to work on tomorrow, so they're drafting that. And then the other thing they had time to work on today is their, let me go to activities, is their research project that we're doing this week. So this biography and autobiography research project. Again, this whole first part here is about the person that they chose. So they're filling this all about the person. Then once you get halfway through on page 10, then you flip gears and you're talking about yourself. So be careful with your pronouns. When you start talking about facts about me, if you're writing this about yourself, you're going to say, I do this, and I, and myself, and the pronouns that go with ways that you talk about yourself. If you're talking about somebody else, you have a whole different set of pronouns. So make sure that's matching the right one. So the whole last half is about you. The whole first part is about someone else. So those pronouns should be looking different. All right. So and students are starting to turn that in and finish that up, but they have till Friday that they can work on that. And then, let's see, where am I? Agenda. All right, so they worked on that for reading. Writing today, we were working on the week 13 writing. So here, all right, so here we continued working on introductions and we're getting really close. I think we can move on next week. We're getting really close to looking rock solid, which is what I wanted before we moved on to the next part. So that's good. So here we worked on page 3. So the student, let me move me over here. So the students had time to go and work. They continued with questions and with the funnel and with the anecdote. And so this one was about a job or career you'd like to have when you grow up. And so they chose, or we did this together. So we said some brainstorm. We said teacher, doctor, firefighter, police officer. And so then we wrote a question together, a funnel together, and an anecdote together. So it says, what job or career would you like to have when you grow up? When I grow up, I'd like to be a teacher. Let me explain why I'd like this job. Our funnel, although I want to be a doctor, firefighter, and police officer, a teacher is what I'd like to be the most when I grow up. Let me tell you why. Anecdote, when I turned 12, I started babysitting some kids in my neighborhood. I learned that I really like working with kids. Since then, I knew I wanted to be a teacher when I grow up. Keep reading to find out more. So, here, if you look back, these questions are all looking very, very similar. You go to page 1, page 2, page 3. They all start off with a question, and then they have that central idea where you're telling the reader whatever this is asking you to write about, if it's music or if it's a game or if it's a job, those questions connect. And then the central idea is where you respond to what they're wanting you to write about. So if they want you to write about a job, you have to tell the reader what your job is. If they want you to write about a toy, you have to tell the reader what your favorite toy is. If they're asking you about your favorite type of music, you have to tell the reader what your favorite type of music is. That needs to be done in the introduction from the beginning. The reader should not have to wait to be able to find out that information. They should get it right at the beginning. Okay, so question, central idea, good to go. The next part, same thing with the funnel. We've got this same pattern where we're taking these things that we brainstormed, the 3 that we didn't pick, and we're listing those first. And then we're saying, however, this is my favorite. Or although I like all these, this one is my favorite. So they have that same pattern throughout, and so students are really getting that pattern down and it's looking real good. And then the same thing with the anecdote. You're telling just a little background story about your topic. So the music one, I talked about a concert I went to. The toy, I talked about this show that I watched that had to do with Legos. Um, this here, I started talking about, liking to work with kids. All of it connects to whatever the topic is. And then you say something like, like this one, since then, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. So you have to make that connection with your story and your central idea. So if you go back to this one about music, and I wrote about the concert, I said, since then, pop has always been my favorite. When I talked about the toy and I talked about the show I watched, I said, since watching that show, Legos have been my favorite. With the teaching, I said, with the job, I said, since then, since I was working with those kids, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. So putting those ideas together and having that connection, I think, is important because we want everything to flow into each other. Think about like a long rope. All of the sentences need to be attached to this one like this one central idea, this one clear path. We don't want to be jumping from idea to idea to idea. We want a clear straight line where everything just flows into the next sentence. We don't want anything to be looking like it stands out because it doesn't really, it doesn't really fit in and stuff. So like if I'm talking about babysitting kids and I learned that I like working with kids, I'm not going to jump to talking about my college classes when I did student teaching. Like that's connected, but it's still it's not on the same path I started. So I want to just keep that anecdote just real simple, straight to the point. I don't want to jump from idea to idea to idea. okay? Keep it simple. All right, so tomorrow, or for page 3, we did these 3 together, and then students picked one. So I told them I want them to really get rock solid. I want them to be good at all of them, but I want them to be really, really rock solid in one, and I want that to be their go-to. And so I was like, "Are you a funnel guy? Are you a funnel girl? Are you a question guy? You know, what is the one that you're really, really rock solid on?" And write it to the best of your ability. And then we shared several, and we even made them stronger. Several people gave great ideas where we really got them really, really, really strong. And we did that today. So we did lots of sharing, which was great. So that was what we did in writing today. So we drafted that. Then we went to recess. Then we came back for science today. We were in Seesaw. Let me move me over here. All right, so in science today, we introduced this idea about natural resources, and we said that all of these resources come from Earth, and they're to help us survive and help us make life easy. And so let me get this opened real quick. So all right. Alrighty, so Monday we opened this box and we labeled the natural resources. Monday we read that. Monday we made a thank you card to Earth. Tuesday we went on our virtual field trip. Today we're on page 5. So this is what we did today. We took all of these ingredients or different food items, put them at the top here, and we traced them all back to soil. So tomatoes grow in soil. Bun comes from wheat, which grows in soil. Cheese comes from milk, which comes from cow. Cows eat hay and grass, which grows in the soil. So we went down the line and we attached all these, and we saw how all of these things that we eat and consume, how we can trace them back to our natural resource, which is soil. Then students took a turn making their own. So they picked a favorite breakfast or something that they had for breakfast this morning. And so my favorite is bacon, eggs, and potato tacos. So I broke it down: eggs, bacon, potatoes, and the tortilla. I put where they come from. Some of them come straight from the soil, like the potatoes are a plant, so it comes straight from the soil. Some of them I had to break down a little bit more. But again, all of those can be traced back to soil. So students picked their own item and did that. And then we drafted that because we'll continue working tomorrow. And then in social studies today, there is a video. There's a video here that you can click and watch about Austin. And then here, go to your week 13 on your Google Classroom. And you can click and you can watch or listen to the text on for today. So today is Wednesday. So Wednesday's 2 pages here, so 7, 8. So here again, more questions about Moses Austin. And so what type of job did he have? You've got these fill in the blanks, and then this one, the summary of that text, which you can find on the first page of Wednesday right here. So that is that. And then agenda. All right, in intervention today, we worked on expanded form with decimals. So let me move my head over here. All right, let me clear this. So again, just as a review, when you have a decimal, like let's say we've got 7.36, 7 and 36 hundredths, the way that you expand this out is you take each digit. So you've got your 7, that's 7 ones, plus your tenths place. So we're going to make this 3 in the tenths place, plus you've got your 6 in the hundredths place. So we're going to make that 0.06. So each of these, the thing that students keep getting stuck on is this one and this one. And I fussed at them today because I'm like, you guys have a place value chart. You really, really need to look at that place value chart. This is simply just matching. Okay. You have a decimal point. The tenths place is right next door. So this, you should have a decimal and you should have the tenths right next door. This one has the decimal point, and if the 6 here is 2 spots over, so here this has to match. 1 spot, 2 spots over. Okay, so really it's just simply matching and really paying attention to the place value. And I would like to encourage everyone, if we're doing math, that place value chart should be out because we reference it so much when we're talking about decimals. And so encourage them to have that out and to be, and I encourage you to have that out and to make sure that you're using that because we've got to know what these columns are. We have to know that this is the tenths place and this is the hundredths. If I'm talking about tenths, this one right here with the 3, that's 3/10. It has a 10. If I'm talking about the 6 is in the hundredths place, 6/100. So there's really just 2 of them that we're talking about, and we're getting them confused. It's just matching. We have to match it tenths with 10, hundredths with 100. If you listen to the word that's in there, tenths, it has the word 10, okay? Hundredths, here's 100. It has the word hundredths in there. So if you really just slow down and think about it, it's not too difficult, but we're just going too fast. I think we need to slow down and really put those thinking caps on and really think about what we're doing before we choose our answers. So we played a review game with that to review how we expand those out and find those values. And that's everything we did on Wednesday. So let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for watching.